what they achieved is singular. Never been done before. Just to put in perspective, 100,000 GPUs, that's, easily the fastest supercomputer on the planet. That's one cluster. A supercomputer that you would build would take normally 3 years to plan.
Right.
And then they deliver the equipment, and it takes 1 year to get it all working.
Yes.
We're talking about 19 days. There's only one person in the world who could do that, I mean, Elon is singular in this understanding of engineering and construction and large systems and marshaling resources.
Incredible.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. And of course, then his engineering team is extraordinary. I mean, the software team's great, the networking team's great, the infrastructure team is great. Elon understands this deeply.
In the ever-surprising world of stock market twists and turns, Elon Musk has once again managed to shatter expectations and stir up a buzz that has investors and tech enthusiasts on the edge of their seats. No, we're not talking about Tesla's latest vehicle or another SpaceX headline-grabbing rocketry feat. This time, Musk, through his AI initiative, xAI, has built a supercomputer dubbed Colossus that's been hailed as possibly the most powerful AI training machine globally. While this unfolds, Nvidia, the chip-making powerhouse under the leadership of CEO Jensen Huang, finds itself at the center of this tech maelstrom, with its chips supercharging this supercomputer. The implications of this are not just technological, they might reverberate through the stock market like never before. But before jumping to conclusions, let's dive deeper into what this all really means. Stay with us as we unravel the threads connecting Musk, Nvidia, and the broader AI race in this dynamic, interwoven tale of ambition and innovation. Welcome back, everyone, to Investocracy.
Let's bring in our next guest to talk about NVIDIA in the chip sector. Vivek Arya, Bank of America Securities Senior Semiconductors Analyst. And when you look at NVIDIA, it's good to see you, Vivek. When you look at it, I think there's two angles. One is how strong are its customers? How strong is demand going to be? And then you've got, I guess, competitors to NVIDIA that want to get into the same business. And on both of those metrics, I think you think NVIDIA is well positioned. They're still the leader, and demand is still going to be strong.
Yeah, good morning, Joe. I think the key is that their customers are in a race to re-architect the data center and replace traditional servers with accelerated servers. This movement had started about a year or two ago, and then as soon as we started to see the improvements in generative AI and these large language models, which, by the way, the computing requirements to train some of these models are growing 4 to 5 times a year. So this is not your, Moore's law progressing every 2 years. This is technology that is changing every, 4 to 5 times a year. So we need to throw a ton of computing infrastructure, and it is not just the processors, it is networking, it is optics, it is software, it is developers, it is bringing it all together. And in our mind, there is only one company that can bring it all together. This is expensive, no doubt. We are going from capital intensity for a lot of these cloud players that used to be 9 or 10%, and now it's 15 or 16%, right? CapEx is growing 50+% a year. But we do think that this is very important for them. It can open up new revenue opportunities, and this build out and re-architecting can last at least through the next decade, with a 4 or 5 year of initial build out and then a lot more success-based build out. And then finally, yes, there is competition, but we do expect NVIDIA to maintain its 80 to 85% market share, and then another 10% or so for these custom chips, and then a few percent for other players such as AMD.
Once upon a time in the tech world, a place where ideas bloom faster than wildflowers in spring, Elon Musk decided to outdo his already larger-than-life achievements by entering the AI arena with his startup, xAI. The spotlight is currently on Colossus, the supercomputer central to xAI's mission, with a feat as monumental as installing 100,000 NVIDIA H100 chips in just 19 days. It almost feels like Musk and Huang played a game of beat the clock, and surprise, surprise, they won. How on earth did they pull it off? It's something even industry veterans are calling superhuman. Indeed, NVIDIA's boss, Jensen Huang, did not hold back his admiration, labeling the whole operation as unbelievable. Naturally, in a world where time is money, and money is, well, more money, this translates into billions spent, with an estimated $2.5 billion burned through the H100s alone. Talk about a billion-dollar arm wrestle. But what does this mean in the complicated kingdom of market shares, ticks, and flicks of stock prices? Simply put, Nvidia comes out as the king of the AI jungle. And here comes the joke. How is the stock market like a tech CEO in Silicon Valley? They both live on caffeine and wild, unpredictable ups and downs. Yet, for Nvidia, it seems these ups have formed a mighty mountain. The stock has skyrocketed over 2,700% in the past 5 years, effectively giving investors the thrill of a roller coaster without the loop-de-loops. And it's not just their AI chips that are winning. Nvidia's grip on the entire AI market is as firm as ever, claiming an 80% market share. Forecasts even suggest that by the next decade, the AI market could expand from $200 billion to an impressive $1 trillion, worth more than a small nation's GDP. But before we go any further, if you want to keep up with Nvidia's latest updates and keep up with the stock market's latest news, you can follow our Twitter account. We post multiple times daily about the biggest changes and catalysts in the market, so click the follow button if you don't want to miss the newest market updates.
You refer to it as a generational opportunity, and that I guess that's 10 years. That'll continue. There's some industry events you point to. Taiwan's semis results. AMD had an AI event. All these things. So you're saying that all Avago, Micron, all these things indicate that's demand for Nvidia's Blackwell chips?
Yeah, I think we have a few things that are coming together. First of all, the customers themselves are being pushed by this private company, OpenAI, on one side, that is innovating rapidly in a very kind of closed and proprietary architecture. And on the other hand, you have a company such as Meta that is putting out large language models in a very open format, right? Anyone can go and access their models. So the traditional cloud players are having to take the lead from these two very important forces. And this is not just a US phenomena, right? We are seeing this spread across the world, where every country, every region wants to be involved in setting up their large language model. NVIDIA is in India this week, for example, and there's a lot of large language models that are being trained in Indian languages, right, for that culture. There are large language models that are being trained for all the languages and culture of the Middle East. So I think this is a global phenomena. Enterprises are jumping on board. Novo Nordisk is deploying a supercomputer, using NVIDIA's help. So it's a global phenomena. But as I mentioned, that in order to be successful in this, you can't just be successful in semiconductors, right? You have to be successful in the underlying systems integration technology, in networking and optics and software and developers. And the other important part of what you mentioned is you need scale. You need to be able to work very well with the supply chain because this is not going to take just one player. It's going to take many different players coming together and putting out this technology with a lot of reliability. That's the only way, I think, to scale it across this broad base of cloud and enterprise and sovereign entities.
But Blackwell's fixed. That didn't take long, right? And you expect the yield to get better. What does that mean? The yield will get better for Blackwell?
Yeah, initially when they put the Blackwell product out, there was an issue in just the underlying semiconductor wafer. So they have fixed that. And we are now expecting Blackwell to go from almost nothing to, at least $3 to $4 billion in their next quarter, going on to 10 to 15 and then to $20+ billion over the next several quarters. It is an extremely complex product. It's not just their product. We need to see a lot of other improvements in the data centers, such as liquid cooling. So you have, sort of the whole village coming together in making this successful, because without making this successful, you're not going to have the scaling of a lot of these large language models. You're not going to be able to really justify their speed or accuracy. And it's a virtuous cycle. Every time NVIDIA comes out with a better product, you have the software community, the internet community, the cloud community, the enterprises coming out with applications that can take better advantage of it. And it goes back and forth. And we think the cycle can last for several years. And the one other point I would also want to make in terms of the stock itself, yes, it has had a remarkable run. But when we look at its earnings growth for next year that we forecast to be in the range of 40 to 50%, it is still trading less than 1 times that earnings growth. Okay. And if you look at the broader market, it's trading at 2 times the earnings growth. If you look at the other Max 7, they're also trading 1.5 to 2 times their earnings growth. So from that metric, we do think the stock is still compelling at these levels.
Amidst this backdrop of figures and forecasts, Nvidia faces its next big test, the upcoming earnings report on November 20th. Historically, Nvidia has painted a picture of growth, with investors keenly watching if the company will maintain its shining gross margins and deliver on its product launch promise. It's like waiting for a blockbuster movie to hit the theaters where everyone knows the cast and the plot is filled with enough tech drama to rival a Hollywood thriller. Through it all, Nvidia has positioned itself not just as a top player, but as the on-ramp to this AI-driven world. As for the competitors, companies like AMD remain in the race, but lag a year behind Nvidia's galloping strides. Nvidia's capability to double down on R&D spending creates a lopsided yet fascinating race. It's a bit like David versus Goliath, just with less slingshot and more silicon. With Nvidia trading at all-time highs, carrying a price-to-earnings ratio of 67, there remains certain cautions for risk-averse investors. However, if historical trends offer any insights, Nvidia can ride this tech wave into the future quite comfortably. But before going any further, if you made it this far into the video, thank you. These videos take a lot of effort and time to make, so if you enjoyed them, please hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. This goes a long way in helping us grow. That said, back to the video.
We do have big news regarding one of the Mag 7 stocks, and it is that Brin has bought more Nvidia, which I thought was pretty interesting, considering the stock has been up a lot. It's right on the heels here of Apple with market cap. Why'd you buy more here?
Yeah, so next week we know, which we're going to get into, we have the Oscars of earnings with all of the big names that we talk about. And I think that, how do you play that trade? I own Nvidia, I've owned it for a long time, and I think the stock technically looks like it's breaking out. It had been consolidating for the past couple months, but I feel really confident Microsoft, Apple, via OpenAI, Meta, Google, Amazon are all going to be talking about what? Their AI initiatives. And so I think next week we'll have some winners and losers, some disappointments, but I think all roads once again lead to Nvidia, and you're going to continue to see huge CapEx spends from these companies as they're all individually looking to monetize their own endeavors into AI. And I still think Nvidia is in pole position to benefit from all of that CapEx spend. So I took the opportunity to add to it yesterday. Yeah, it's in the midst of pretty good momentum. It's up 18% month to date. It's been up 28% in some 3 months. As I said, it's barely off of its record high. The others have a little bit more to go. So unafraid, I find Brin to, even after that kind of momentum, to buy it here rather than wait for a pullback, which hasn't been out of the question for this stock over a period of time. Yeah, well, I mean, the way I've been playing the stock is, I have sold calls against it. So when the stock sold down, I closed those call positions. So just owning the stock. And so I'm like taking advantage of the volatility. And I think that's a good thing to do with a lot of these names like an Nvidia or a Tesla. But I just still see, when I'm looking at Apple or Microsoft's, earnings and revenue growth really aren't that strong. Is part of that because of all of the CapEx, especially Microsoft is going to be doing. And I just think Nvidia is going to be the recipient. We won't get their numbers till the end of the month. And so I just think it's a good opportunity where next week is going to be a buy Nvidia. And I think that's going to be a consistent story from all of these companies who are spending billions of dollars on Blackwell, on H100s, H200s.
With such a robust narrative of innovation and market leadership, the question isn't just whether to buy Nvidia stock before the weather vane of the November 20th report swings. If history provides any guide, it's about the long game. Nvidia's consistency in innovation and market capture drives home the message that the company has the stamina to weather more than short-term fluctuations. Whether Blackwell demands exceed supply comes down to the perennial excitement of the tech sector, perpetual demand projecting the company into more prosperous years. And here comes the cherry on this layered tech cake. If Nvidia is already a foundational force in AI, the maturity of its processes can only lead to greater efficiencies and market gains. So, will the next quarter's results mirror this positive trending history? Prudent predictions might suggest steady, bullish growth ahead. For investors aligning with Nvidia, it's a story of tech symphony. Innovation, market strategy, and fiscal discipline harmoniously in tune, possibly edging its growth arc higher. As we wrap up today's engaging narrative, the question marinating on many minds is whether we're at the dawn of a new tech trilogy with Nvidia as its starring lead. What are your thoughts, fellow market watchers? Will you sit in Nvidia's camp, eagerly anticipating its promising performance? Or perhaps you see new contenders on the horizon? Share your insights as this saga unfolds in the world of stocks, where the only constant is change, underscored by the gleam of Silicon Frontier visionaries. And finally, if you would like to know what companies like Nvidia have been up to these past few days, go ahead and click on the next video on your screen.